I would simply say, Mr. Chairman, I share the sentiments of Ms. Scanlon and Ms. Ledger-Fernandez. I've served in Congress since 2018, have served on the Judiciary Committee throughout the duration of my tenure in the Congress. I believe I'm the only member of this committee who has served as a House prosecutor during the second impeachment trial of President Trump and spent many a day preparing for that trial and making the case to our colleagues in the upper chamber. I know a thing or two about impeachment and about the constitutional standards, the exacting nature of that standard. I was with many of you in the House chamber on the second floor on January 6th. I remember it well. I remember the outrage that so many of us felt on both sides of the aisle at what President Trump had done in inciting a mob to come and disrupt and interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. He was impeached for that on a bipartisan basis with good cause. And he has been singularly focused ever since on exacting retribution. He's made that clear. He posts about it often on social media. It's been reported that he's communicated directly to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle what he's communicated to the public, which is that he demands that House Republicans exact this political revenge and impeach President Biden. And that's why our colleagues are pursuing this step, notwithstanding the damage it'll do to the country, and notwithstanding the way in which it will divert this Congress from being able to prioritize the issues that ultimately matter to the American people. And perhaps that's the best place to close. There's a quote I'll read, because I thought it summarized this well. Quote, "While they fixate on overturning a presidential election, Americans continue to face high prices at the drugstore, roads and bridges that are falling apart, and a broken immigration system." While House Democrats fixate on overturning a presidential election, Americans continue to face high prices at the drugstore, roads and bridges that are falling apart, and a broken immigration system. We need to end this political theater and get back to work for the American people, end quote. That's a quote from my friend, Mr. Eschenthaler, when he voted against the impeachment inquiry resolution in November or end of October of 2019, 4 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long.
Very well said.
I would ask him to heed his own words and perhaps maybe our colleagues to do the same. Let's get back to work on behalf of the American people. Let's work on addressing immigration and public safety, lowering costs. That's my request. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Is there further discussion or debate on the amendment? The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My friend from Colorado made a perfect dovetail into my comments because I believe I've been misquoted twice now. Earlier in the hearing, I said explicitly that the standard of impeachment has been lowered by the Democrats to the point now where it's, in essence, a political exercise. This isn't a political exercise. We were simply going to have an inquiry, a vote on an inquiry to start the process in order to, and again, I've said it ad nauseum, the Biden administration is refusing to comply. Their own lawyers have said we need to have a vote on the inquiry, and that's what we're doing. But again, during the first impeachment of Trump, I was on the committee with my friend from Colorado and Judiciary, and I said, if we move forward with this impeachment, we are in essence making this a political exercise. And I said then, if you have a president and a House of Representative of two different political parties, it's now going to be just expected by whatever base you have, whether it's Democrat or Republican, that you're going to have an impeachment. And then I reiterated those same comments on impeachment number 2 when I sat in the same exact chair that my friend is sitting in from Colorado right now. From there, I said the same exact words. So, yeah, I spoke out against impeachment twice because I felt the standard had not been met. And I would still reiterate this, that there wasn't enough evidence to go forward. There weren't the high crimes and misdemeanors. Instead, the Democrats continue to push it forward. And now we have a situation where impeachment, the standard of impeachment has been lowered to such a degree that, again, it's merely, at this point, a political exercise. Not that this is a political exercise, but the bar has been lowered. And if you don't believe me, let's just go back and look historically. In 2017, December 6, 2017, you had H-Res 646. 58 Democrats voted to advance an article of impeachment for the high crime or misdemeanor of, wait for this one, disrespecting the NFL league anthem protest and calling a member of Congress wacky. That was a high crime and misdemeanor back in December of 2017. Then January of 2018, January 19, 2018, H-Res 705. 66 Democrats voted to advance impeachment for the high crime or misdemeanor of President Trump's, wait for it, rhetoric. You try to impeach him just for rhetoric. I mean, that is absolutely laughable. It didn't stop there. July 17th, 2019, H-Res 498. 95 Democrats voted to advance impeachment for the high crime or misdemeanor of, this is another really good one, insulting the squad. I mean, it's absolutely laughable. So when I say that the Democrats have reduced the standard of impeachment to a point where it's just absolutely absurd, you have. And now we're just playing by the same rules that you set for us in the last two, in the 116th Congress. But with that, I would yield back.
Mr. Chairman.
Where? Oh, I'm sorry. Gentlelady from Indiana is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to note for the record that according to this amendment, the House spent 26 days electing 2 speakers. I don't dispute we spent that much time, but we were thrown into that situation not by Republicans, but by 8 Republicans and 208 Democrats that voted to vacate the chair. So the fact that we had to spend extra time dealing with our own speaker election, we wouldn't have had to do that were it not for 208 Democrats voting with 8 Republicans to make that happen. I'd also like to note, there's been lots of talk about what we've not done. Just yesterday, we passed the Lower Cost, More Transparency Act, reducing health care costs for American families. That was a bipartisan effort that passed the House last night on suspension by wide margins. So despite us needing to do this work procedurally, we are still accomplishing things on behalf of the American people. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Is there any further discussion? The gentlelady from,
Yield to you, then you can yield to me.
We're just.
gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I just want to know that, Mr. Washington, I think there is a difference between what passes the House and what leadership supports. And so the instances you've described, that's not what passed the House. That is not what leadership supported, because if they had, then it would have been supported. What we're talking about is the January 6th impeachment. That is the standard for which we think you should say that is the standard. When you say we've lowered the standards, well, the standard should be something as grievous as that, something as grievous as trying to bribe a foreign government. Those are big things. Little things like that, where you get 50-some people upset about something or another, 60-some about something else, that is not what leadership is pursuing. Your leadership, as evidenced by the hearing today, as evidenced by the resolution, as evidenced by the vote that will be taken on a purely partisan basis tomorrow, is supporting impeachment inquiry where there is nothing there. And I think it's also very insulting. I was struck by something I read by the chair, Chair Comer, who, as I said, he's appeared before us. I respect him. But with regards to the blinding, there's going to become like the vengeance is almost like blinding people to the need to govern, blinding them to what they're saying. where, you know, when he was talking about impeachment, he actually described that in talking to the people who listen to CNN, who watch CNN, and need to hear about impeachment, that they were, quote, a low IQ audience. We should not lower expectations. We should not expect that Americans cannot understand the importance of what we're doing here today, the importance of what we're doing and what it means, and what the framers were talking about, which is what, you know, our only impeachment manager on this committee talked about, how serious this action is and how serious we should take it. And with that, I yield to our ranking member.
No,